Get a little bit of interference from the sound system outside. As you know, Arsenal are playing Leeds here this evening. And this is a Q&A that's probably been brought forward quite rightly. There's been a bit of noise this season and you've all got questions you want to ask. It's really your forum. It hasn't got to be mushy, hasn't got to be rude. Whatever you want to ask, if I can give you an honest answer, I will. If there are things I can't quite touch on, I'll be honest enough to say it. But as I say, I think, if I'm honest, just the amount of people that are in the room tells me that this is probably as busy a Q&A that we've probably had for those of us who've been around for a while. And as I say, it's your forum. Ask what you need to ask, and if I can answer it, I will. You may not like all the answers. You may like every answer, but they'll be honest, and I'll do my best to give you an evening where you can go home and decipher what you need to work out, and we'll take it from there. All right, are you happy with that? Yeah. Okay, let's tell the story, let's have a beer, and let's get on with the evening. All right, thank you. I think it...
Don't you think it would be a good thing? That's all I'm asking.
It's always a good thing.
For the players.
I think it would be a great thing if we wasn't, every year bottom of the attendance league, or close to it. But I think we've also got to accept we've got 35,000 in our town. Bromley have 300,000. So you've got to look at those comparisons, and it's really, really easy to concentrate on what you haven't got. Why don't we concentrate on what we have got? Because what you haven't got is a bit like Christmas, isn't it, when I was a kid, The kid next door got the chopper bike or whatever. There's no point worrying about what they got. Well, I don't know if I was happy, Al. To be fair, I nicked his bike twice and got gold. But yeah, okay. It would be nice, but it's not something that it's not something I think about too much.
No. Can somebody come up with something that we can put a bit of paper on the seat, a chair we can all get into? Well, because the players need that, don't they? They need that from the fans.
I think the answer to your question is quite simple. It's not a chairman's answer, really, is it? It's a supporter's answer. When I first took over here, there was no North Bank, there was no West Stand. The East Stand's been refurbed. This bar didn't look like this. There was no Glass House or Oscars or Ricco's. And the support's grown from 150 to what are we, around about 1,100 now. So again, with the chanting, I feel, to make a comparison with an established club from a Championship or EFL club, it's apples and oranges, really.
Yeah, but the opposition will make it more noise than we were.
Because they're bigger clubs than us.
Yeah, but they didn't bring as many people.
No, but if ever you go away, do you go away from home with us?
No.
No, you'll find when you go away from home with us, I think you'll all agree, it's always louder. I mean, the people who go away, whether we're at Woking last Saturday or Notts County in the playoffs.
You need the support to make the chance.
You need that. And again, but I don't really feel it's a chairman's question to create a chant. I think you guys have to come up with it. I think the youngsters with the drums and what's important for me is when I built the North Bank, is I remember feeling a bit silly, really, because it wasn't like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. We built it and no one come. But they are now coming. It's not quite as we might all want it. We might want a utopian world, and but you also have to be realistic. If we've gone from 150 supporters in, you know, from when I took over, to 1,100, you know, we've gone from the Southern Eastern Division to the Ryman Premier, to the Conference South. We've had a few relegations in between. And if we can pull it off this year, obviously next year will be our 10th year in the National League's top table. So I'm happy that we're still building. I'm happy with how we've integrated all aspects of this town into this football club. You see there's different communities within it, but there's no different communities when they arrive here on a Saturday afternoon. And you see that in the North Bank, the West Stand, the East Stand. So yeah, so the chance I'll leave to you guys, just don't sing We Want Hunter Out. And
I was going to ask, Dorking on the programme nights I found very interesting.
they normally are, aren't they? Yeah, go on.
But about your comments about the National League and agents, and has it got harder to get quality players in?
It's impossible. It's impossible because if I sit in front of you, you know, I've got 25 years of experience of being a football club chairman. You know, I made movies for 25 years. You know, we won Oscars for Shakespeare in Love and Full Metal Jacket, we were nominated, and Hamlet. And you learnt your trade. You've got, you know, if you want to call yourself an agent, call yourself an agent. There's nothing to stop you. There's no experience, there's no intelligence, there's no, you know, it's basically, can we nick a few, Bob? And if we can't, remember, they don't make money unless they've got a turnover of players. So if you read those notes, I think I said, I won't open my checkbook for mediocre crap, which is being thrown out there. And people are unsettling their own players to get a move. But I can't tell you how poor some of the agents are, intermediaries are. What they need to do, it's really simple, put £500,000 bond down to be an agent. And if you can't do the job, and take the exams like it used to be. Because you can't, as I say, I'll give you an example. And we're in negotiations with 3 players at this level and a member of staff. The demands that they've got is the equivalent of for four people is over 400,000 a year. It doesn't include the agent's fees. It doesn't include signing-ons. It doesn't include bonuses. Now, I can bankrupt our football club, or I can bankroll the football club. I think we've got to have a balance. So, do I expect there to be changes next season on the playing front? I probably do, because if you're asking for 30, 40, 50% pay rises when you've put us in a relegation battle, where's the logic of that? If you're not achieving in your workplace, I'm not sure you can go to the boss and ask for 30, 40, 50% pay rise. But they don't, it's not like us talking, Steve. They don't come and talk man to man like it used to be. They send their brother and call him an agent or an intermediary or daddy or whatever it is. So it's very different. So I'm glad you read the notes.
Are we talking about, which I don't have a problem with, but bringing more of a kid's movement pace to avoid having to pay extortionate agent fees?
No, I think it's not aimed at one department. A new identity and a new way of working is the academy. I think I also told you the cupboard was bare. There's no Sorba Thomas, there's no Ben Goodliff, there's no Iliman Endai. The academy, since the pandemic, obviously it's been a difficult transition. You know, I can go back in the last 5 to 10 years, we had 27, 28 England internationals at college level. We've got boys everywhere in the pro leagues and in the semi-pro leagues. At the moment, it's, you know, I've had to look, and we need to rebuild. It was a difficult situation. For those of you who remember Cameron Moyer, Cameron done a fantastic job for us. But when we had the pandemic, we had to separate Luke and Cameron, one to the academy, and one obviously stayed with the first team. And Cameron's been a big miss. And so so the answer to your question is, we're rebuilding the academy because it needs rebuilding. When you do things like that, it needs patience. It needs understanding and care. It needs to have people out. When we produced the players that we did just 3-4 years ago, you have to understand that a lot of them weren't produced by Luke Gallard. They were produced by Charlie Hunter and Cameron Moyer. We produced an under-16s team on a Sunday, and they went all over London to put this lot together. And they came all the way through. We won, I think, 7 national titles with this group that came through from under-16s all the way through. It was exciting. And
Recreate that.
pardon?
Can't we try to recreate?
That's what we're doing, and that's exactly when I talk about a new identity. It's not quite as simple as that. A lot of the youth team that come through, we have structures. So this is a very different sports education program. Again, I said I had 5 children. I had one who played for England, who played for the first team, and went and done the full ride in America. I had others that should never have took their boots out of the box. But but the truth is, football's everybody's game. So we found we could match up an education program with their level of football and find all the way through. You'll find, as always, you know, I think Chrissy's boy Nick came through our system, and he won a fair few titles. There's I think Steve Hodson, when we first started Boreham 2000, Lee went on to play for Glasgow Rangers. He's at Eastleigh now, but he had a fantastic career at Brentford and at Watford, and you know, this club's always produced good players. This town's always produced good players. And I'm being asked by Grant what price is the season ticket next year, or entry prices. Only a fool would be able to tell you what they are, because you have to understand there's 3 options, and I'll give you so that you do understand how this club's run. So if you are in more than 5 minutes, you'll understand it. Okay, but if we're in this division, I've got a decision to make based on where we are, how we are. I've just told you I've got 4 people asking for 400,000 to be in next year. So if we're here, and let's just say conservatively speaking, we have a great pre-season, the pre-season will bring in 75 grand. The monies that will come in from season tickets will be another 75, maybe a bit more. But basically, when you look at the gate receipts and throw everything in, and a little bit of central funding from the league, you'll be lucky if you cover between 450 and 500,000. The budget this year for the first team is 1.3 million. And we're over it. I've got 3 options. If we stay up, I've got a decision to make on what the price might be. If we go down, do I drop $1 million and have a go at trying to keep us back up and try and do a Yeovil? Because for every Yeovil there might be a Scunthorpe or a Torquay. Or do I go back to the Tuesday, Thursday night part-time programme where we balance our books. I save 650,000 to 800,000 a year. I'm sure my kids and grandchildren will be happy. And we're going back to concentrating more on the academy and all the things, because we've always built this club from the bottom up. When I took this club over, it was a shambles. It was a shambles. There was no word, It was the Phil Wallace show, and if he said this is what it was, this is what it was, and but again, this didn't exist. The Glass House didn't exist. The West Stand didn't exist. The North Bank didn't exist. Arsenal, like tonight, you can see we're all in there. There's a game going on up there. This is an amazing football club, but we built it from the bottom up, and we built it because it's us.
Please ask the chairman, after the shambles of the last 2 home games, does he still have the confidence in the manager? He seems to have lost the dressing room and the players are all over the place. Our opponents have sussed us out now and are running us ragged. We are very one-dimensional and the system is the same every game. It's painful to watch. Your thoughts?
I think on a personal note, you have to break the question down. Was the last 2 home games the shambles? He's obviously talking about Eastleigh and Dorking. It's not something that... Yeah, I think it was quite shambolic at times in both games. I think the second part of the question was, has Luke lost the dressing room? For those of you who travelled to Woking, and again, I think I would know if he'd lost the dressing room. And it's at times like this, people don't need to be kicked when they're down. The kid's not sleeping. He's doing everything he can. Has it gone his way this year? No. Has he made mistakes? Huge mistakes. He's like my 6th son. I want you to know that. I've told you that for years. And for those of you who have had sons, you know at times you want to throttle them. They don't listen to reason. And all things in between. But the truth of the matter is, I haven't changed managers in 17 years. I need to get to the end of this season. I need to look at things with a clear head. But he's one of our own. And we will deal with that and in the right way. We'll deal with it intelligently. If it doesn't feel right, because remember, people talk about it as if it's just my decision. Luke's a big boy. I didn't bring him up to sit on the back of the bus. I brought him up to drive the bus, And I'm gonna let you know something here, which isn't well known to everybody. He came to see me 2 days before the Watford pre-season game, and he felt as if he couldn't run. As you know, he was head of football. He didn't feel he could run the academy and the first team. He felt it was too much. I didn't agree with him. And to be fair, we had an open conversation, and it was an emotional conversation. But like anything, if you've been in business and you're my age, is you're not, you know, the boss isn't always right, but he's always the boss. And I listened, and so we restructured. Luke gave up his 3-year contract for a 1-year contract. He wanted to do it his way, in a certain way, and it hasn't quite worked for him. He needs my support now more than he's ever needed it. Whether he's here next year is an irrelevance. He needs my support now. This club is at a crossroads. This has filled me, honestly, with unbelievable hope tonight to see a room full. But we don't throw our own under a bus. Even if we want to make change at some stage, make change with intelligence, with dignity. Give people the chance. Because you see him at the end against Dorking, he could hardly breathe. For those of you who've been with me at Ramsgate when we got relegated, Maidenhead when we got relegated, St Albans City, trust me, you can't breathe when you get to those last few games. We won't be there because we've got that experience. You've got an experienced chairman at the helm who's been through this and done it. Watch some of these inexperienced chairmen take their clubs down. So the answer to that man, and he's perfectly entitled to say it, do I think the last 2 games were shambolic? Yeah, at times I do. But do I think Luke's lost the dressing room? No, I don't. And I believe for the effort and all the work that he's done in the past, he deserves to see this season through. And we can all sit down then, Luke himself, and decide how we'll best proceed. And he's a fine young man.
I think if you...
He said, can you ask Chairman, are there any updates on planned developments to the south end of the ground?
Can you hear me at the back? Because this is to do with... Yeah, okay, so the south end of the ground they're talking about is we've had a pre-planning application in, and I touched on this in my programme notes for nearly 2 years. We finally they're minded to approve a pre-planning application, which would give us a 5,000 capacity stadium with 2,000 seats. It needs to be developed more. The problem that we've got is that we need the Borough Council and the planners to finally agree the Brook Road car park plan, which I've gone and spent a fair few grand on the planning myself, to try and give them a steer, because I think it's important when you have the entrance to the park, if you're going to spend the type of money which they have, if you go into the Brook Road car park, you can see it's a shambles. You see that the changing rooms have been decommissioned and we've put hoardings around it. There's mess everywhere. There's 100 tonne of muck away, not cleared up. There's all manner of issues down there. So again, it needs the Borough Council really to agree their plans. I know that I've given my experience and expertise to the Town Council, the Borough Council and the planners. Where we go with that is really up to them. But I can't finalise my plans for the south end of the ground, as you could imagine, until the Brook Road car park has been agreed, and then we can finalise our plans, because it does need a walkway into the ground. I think it needs a walkway, a safe walkway for the mums and the kids and that walk through the park. You don't really want them walking into a 300 car park space where they can get run over. You need a proper walkway through, so it would enable the mums and dads to be able to drop the kids off at St Teresa's, to walk across the Fairway Hall in a safe environment, etc., etc. they're the things which quietly I'm lobbying. I've had the meetings with people, but it's really then down to the planners and the council, town council and the borough council, to feel that they've got a project that they can take to take to the residents and take that forward. So the answer to your question, yes, I've got the plans. The pre-planned application's been in for 2 years. It involves a new stand at the south end of the ground that mirrors the north bank. We've got a little bit of work to do to ensure we've got 2,000 seats, which you need if you're going to get to the EFL. And again, so there's a whole number of things, and we've now got a little bit of money which we can access from the Stadium Improvement Fund, but we need to make sure that we're spending, government money wisely and that it benefits all of you in here.
Any other questions?
Yes, Danny, you mentioned earlier about partnerships and everything, and the cover was fair. Now, with your association with Arsenal, is there nothing that can be done to get the younger players, the promising players, to come and play here?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and the answer is yeah. There is the relationship at Luke's level, sporting director level, and Arsenal at that level it needs to be improved. It's quite difficult again because with Arsenal being in the Champions League, they'll tend to keep a lot of the kids on who are they're better kids to play in the European Champions League games during the day, and then they tend to want to keep them for the FA Youth Cup. Once they go out of that, then there tends to be. There's a game tonight, and again, there's a lad at Arsenal that we're looking at, and there's a lad at Leeds that we're looking at. But the answer to your question is, yeah, we need to be more proactive. We need, that's an area. The relationships at my level with Arsenal, you can imagine, they've been built over 20-odd years, 25 years. So, but at the football level, they need to be improved. So, yeah, we need to improve it.
Regarding the squad, players and that,
Yeah.
we really go over the top when we sign someone, but when players have left the club, we turn up on a Saturday. Well, I know he was on a short term Staunton. No one knew what had happened to him, whether he was injured, and then Stevens, no one knew what happened to him.
So the question from Barry was, there's a fanfare when we sign players, and sometimes when they go, or something happens, it's less so. The two examples he brought up was Staunton and Dave Stevens. The first one I'll bring up Josh. So again with Josh, it's quite simple. The travelling got too much, and in our opinion, he's not better than David Agbontahoma, Jamal Fifield, and as these players came back, he was surplus to requirements, and he didn't want to sit on the bench, having spent 3 or 4 hours travelling. It was nothing more than that. He left with, he left on very good terms. In terms of David Stevens, for those of you who don't know, David has been with us since we were in the National League. We signed him from Barnet the year we got promoted. And David's lost his mother and he's lost his father, and he needs the club's support. He doesn't need anything more than that. And so that's enough said on that, other than he's, you know, his job's open, because he works with the academy, and again, he's another thoroughly decent human being. And
we are around, you know, I don't know for a fact, but you obviously do because you're a businessman. You know, but we are one of the cheapest season tickets in the league, right? And look what we got. Look what some of the other clubs. You go every game, right? Look what they've got.
the only way we achieve what we achieve is with good partners. To have good partners, you have to build a history. You have to build partnerships and collaborations. So whether it's with the council, whether it's with Arsenal, whether it's with the supporters, whether it's with... And everybody is allowed a voice. But in the end, where do you feel... You know, I'm going to bring I'll bring a name into this because he had quite a lot to say. Elliot Bloom. And I like Elliot. You know, and he wants to talk about how the football's boring. And it's boring him and his boy. And it's a joke if the season ticket prices rise. And if it does, and I listen, and I think you're more than entitled to your opinion. But I hire him for our end of season do, as the DJ. Now, I'm not going to tell you my opinion of his music, but I can assure you the cost he charges, we don't get a discount. He charges us top dollar, but the point is it's football. And I want you, other people have said that they're shut down if they have an opinion. I don't want to shut anybody down. But there's two sides to a coin. And on that argument, is like I've said, if we want to go, if I can't tell you, young Harry is laughing. I'm not bad, am I, Harry? Right? But the truth of the matter is, what I get in your debate into. But the truth is, with what we're saying is, tomorrow we've got Maidenhead. Maidenhead will bring 100, and we'll have about 700-800. And at the moment, I think as we stand at the moment, the ticket sales are, I think, are possibly the lowest they've been this season. There's no point me telling you guys that your season tickets are going up or down. The first thing I've got to do is ensure we're in this division. Because the rest's a story. The rest is, Grant may want, as the fans liaison officer, he might want to know what the prices are next year. But there's so many things that I've got to take into consideration. If we get relegated, should the manager be here or not? If we get relegated and I don't go to the part-time model, is Luke Garrard more valuable than Loretta Brown? Or Lisa Hutchins? Or the point is, when I put my head on the pillar, not necessarily, you know, there is a pressure because it's called decency, it's called honesty, you know, respect. These people have earned my respect. And just because we go and have a bad... If I said to your first 5 games, how many points did we have? I know. We had 6. What about after 10 games? We had 11. 15, we had 15. After 20, we had 21. Now suddenly at 31, we're at 37. We're averaging 1.5, just over the last 11 games. I know every stat that we need to know. But I've got to be the one that tells people they're going down the road. I've got to be the one. These people are my family. These people have stood with me through thick and thin. And some people here, I understand they want success. How do you get success? When Wimbledon didn't understand who Wimbledon were, they went. It was a heartbeat and they were done. Guys haven't been with us long. Do you remember Guiseley? You won't remember them, but remember they were in our league. Do you remember North Ferriby when they won the trophy? No one remembers them anymore, surely. I can tell you a million times, at the end of the day, these people forgot who they were. And if at the end of the day, I make the decision, at the end of this season, if we're relegated, I've got to live with it. So those people who've accused me of sleepwalking into Conference South, or have texted me and got rid of their texts with the abuse and the threats and everything else, okay. I think the one thing I'd like to say is the turnout tonight I'm thrilled with. I think you'll or maybe I'm not phrasing things properly. I need to give you all honest appraisals of where we are. I want you to challenge me. I want it. I don't want people, coming here and 12 of us. I don't want to appeal to the converted. The reason I put my programme notes and send it to all season tickets, because I want you to read it. I want it to appeal to a wider fan base. But there has to be a realism brought to the table, and the realism is, if Bournemouth, who are the lowest supported in the Premier? Would it be Bournemouth or Luton?
But you'd have to assume Luton because of the size of the ground.
Okay, so if Luton stay up this year, then people will be calling for the lad to be made manager of the year. We're the smallest club. We're the smallest club at our level. Nobody's done what we've done, and I can tell you that it. But the truth is, nobody. You go back to Altrincham, you go back to Maidstone in the day, you go back to not one club. This is the biggest accolade I can give this club and its supporters and my staff. My staff are incredible. You have to see how they work. There's no club ever stayed at this level, this small. Next year, we'll stay up this year. We'll stay up this year because of who we are. Not what we are, but who we are. And next year will be our 10th at this division. But like anything, you can't keep pulling rabbits out of a hat. And if we're the lowest supported and the cheapest, and where I fail to see is that sense of entitlement, because it's can I have, I want, me. And what we've got is we have to strike that balance. Is if we want to stay in this division, we have to then go, what makes us what we are? Us. Staunch. You stand on the cobbles, and if it don't go your way, you plant your feet and you come out swinging. We're a working class town, and the best thing about having an underdog culture is every time we look, we're up against it. Tomorrow we're up against it. I mean, Maidenhead had bigger crowds, what we have, as I say, the essence of what we have is in this room, and it's the collaborations and it's the partnerships, and let's be honest, and having a chairman who puts his hand in his pocket. Because without it, we'll go and compete with St Albans, and we can go and compete with Hemel. And I think that's, yes.
The atmosphere is so flat, and the reason not all the time, and not in certain sections, but it's flat because of numbers. Are you able to share and remind us what you have done to get more supporters, and what you intend to do?
Yeah, I think, but when you told me 10 years ago, we were 300 strong. So we're at 1,100. I think, what can I tell you, that, our community division has grown and grown and grown. We go into the schools, we do the kids' schools tournaments, we do, we have the cheapest season tickets in the National League. We try and, you know, although people may have a little whinge up at times, that comes with the territory. We do things within the community, whether it's the Dementia Club, we do things, whether it's the Men-Cat dinners. But we don't necessarily do everything to get a return. We do it because this is our town, this is our community. You know, we grew up here, I went to school here, you know. For some of us, you know, who went, you know, just looking at that table there, I played football with Steve Cook, you know. I went running up and down the Euston Road years ago when football hooliganism was a national plague with Craig Wilde. I've got to tell you this story about Craig Wilde. We went to Bolton. Craig's sitting there. We went to Bolton, Chelsea Bolton, and it was what was back then was Division 2. Now it's the Championship, and we go up there with Chelsea, and it's Bolton, Chelsea top, and we're top. I think we're second, and they're top. The old Burndon Park. And suddenly the bricks and the missiles are coming over to us. But if any of you know, I mean, with Craig's as mean as you like. He's saving up to be a miser even at this day. And he thought this missile coming across was a programme which he tried to catch. But he caught it with his head. He was taken off to have his head bandaged. In the meantime, there was trouble at the other end. Bolton poured out on the pitch. They ran across the pitch. Chelsea ran across the pitch that way. Chelsea were now in Bolton's end. Bolton were now in our end. When they let him back out with his bandaged head with his Chelsea shirt on, he was in the wrong end. Yeah. And when we got back to Euston, he said to me, if I opened my mouth down the Euston Road, he'd punch me all the way to St Pancras. Because we'd had such a fun day. Do you remember that? Yeah. With Paul Appleby and all. So there's so many memories I got with people in this room. Again, with Cookie, when I used to play football with Cookie at Elliott Star. You know, Cookie would, George, you'll be pleased to know, used to go home to your mother. I used to go to Batchwood, which was an old nightclub. Yeah. I might have met you there, who just said yeah. Yeah. And, but the reason I say these stories is this is our town, you know, and it's important that we do recognise who we are and what we are. But all the things that you want to talk about in terms of this club, it has a soul. It has a soul to it. You know, people think we only existed after Wembley, you know, which is a lot of what our problems are. You know, they remember Goodison and they remember Bournemouth, but they don't remember Southend. You know, it was amazing when we first ever got to the first round. I think it was Phil would tell me, was it 73, Phil? Or 73? You know, they threw you out because you didn't have Avis with you, Chris.
I know.
But the truth was, we've been making memories, you know, for as long as I can remember. You know, this didn't exist. The Glass House didn't exist. The West Stand didn't exist. The North Bank didn't exist. Arsenal, like tonight, you know, you can see we're all in there. There's a game going on up there. This is an amazing football club. But we built it from the bottom up, and we built it because it's us. This club is at a crossroads. This has filled me, honestly, with unbelievable hope tonight to see a room full. But we don't throw our own under a bus. Even if we want to make change at some stage, make change with intelligence, with dignity. Give people the chance. Those of you who have been with me at Ramsgate when we got relegated, Maidenhead when we got relegated, St Albans City, trust me, you can't breathe when you get to those last few games. We won't be there because we've got that experience. You've got an experienced chairman at the helm. The only way we achieve what we achieve is with good partners. To have good partners, you have to build a history. You have to build partnerships and collaborations. We're the smallest club at our level. Nobody's done what we've done. My staff are incredible. You have to see how they work. There's no club ever stayed at this level, this small. Next year, we'll stay up this year. We'll stay up this year because of who we are. Not what we are, but who we are. What makes us what we are? Us. Us. Staunch. You stand on the cobbles, and if it don't go your way, you plant your feet and you come out swinging. We're a working class town, and the best thing about having an underdog culture is every time we look, we're up against it. But we don't necessarily do everything to get a return. We do it because this is our town, this is our community. But do I think Luke's lost the dressing room? No, I don't. And I believe for the effort and all the work that he's done in the past, he deserves to see this season through. And we can all sit down then, Luke himself, and decide how we'll best proceed. And he's a fine young man.